India is facing 50% tariffs from the US. But the heat is on Trump and his advisors. Because they've embraced a policy so bad, it has become indefensible. And to make things worse, India is standing its ground, staring them down and forcing them into their own trap. So what's happening? This is Shubhangi Sharma and you're watching Fine Point. Let's dive in. The 50% tariffs have landed. On the 27th of August, Trump pulled the trigger, slapping punitive duties on $48 billion worth of Indian exports. The effects are immediate. Exporters scrambling to reroute shipments, fears of layoffs, even talk of bankruptcies. This is pain India cannot deny. The fault, though, lies with Donald Trump and his advisors, who have chosen a spectacularly bad policy, treating a friend as an enemy and undoing years of progress. Instead of isolating India, they have exposed Washington's own hypocrisy, sharpened New Delhi's resolve to defend its sovereignty, and de-risk its economy. This is India saying, we will not be bullied. And the world is taking note, which is adding to the Trump administration's woes. Just take a look at Trump's tariff advisor Peter Navarro's latest meltdown. If this trade war seems unhinged, Navarro's behavior proves it. Once branding India the Kremlin's laundromat, he's now calling the Ukraine war Modi's war. Now you must have heard this war being termed as Putin's war or even Biden's war. But Modi's war, that's a stretch. This is incoherent, desperate rhetoric. But it's also a dangerous smear campaign against India. Navarro accuses India of profiteering without admitting why India turned to Russian oil in the first place. Because the US and Europe shifted to traditional Indian suppliers, driving prices above $120 a barrel. India's timely purchases averted inflationary chaos at home and stabilized global oil markets at the peak of the war. Navarro also does not acknowledge that if India stops buying Russian oil, then global oil prices will soar to as high as $200 a barrel. Even the Biden administration knew this, quietly structuring a price cap understanding with India to keep global oil affordable. That was realism. But Trump's hypocrisy does not end here. The United States is actively looking for an energy partnership with Russia, the same Russia that it does not want India to trade with. Alongside the Ukraine peace talks, Washington has privately explored ExxonMobil's return to Russia's Sakhalin project, proposals for selling equipment to Russia's LNG sector, and even buying Russian icebreakers. If India buying discounted oil is immoral, what exactly is this? This is why it is suspected that Trump's tariffs have nothing to do with Russian oil, but more about forcing capitulation. Why target India alone? That's the gaping hole Trump's team has failed to answer. The EU, Turkey, and China are all still buying Russian oil and face no such tariff war. So the narrative by the likes of Scott Bessent and Peter Navarro have turned to bluster. They accuse India of profiteering and claim that it does not need Russian oil. But that misses the point by a mile. Sovereignty means the right to choose. India's choice of oil suppliers, whether Russian, Saudi, Emirati, Iraqi, or American, is India's and India's alone. What Washington really resents is not India's choice, but India's impact. Indian refiners aren't just buying Russian crude, they're exporting refined products at scale, including to Europe, keeping prices in check, but also eating into others' profit margins. When the US needed India to put prices in check, it said nothing. But with the prices in control today, the Trump administration, perhaps also speaking for the oil lobby in the US, is trying to box Indian exporters out. They have to play by the rules if they want to stay in the market. That's the message. The tariffs, then, are less about economics and more about control. A warning that New Delhi must not be allowed to influence oil prices without the USA's permission. This is why the argument feels less economic than psychological. A message to India. Don't think you can shape markets. But New Delhi has already signaled the opposite. As Jaishankar bluntly told critics, don't like it, don't buy it.
if you have a problem buying oil from India, oil or refined products, don't buy it. Nobody forced you to buy it. I mean, but Europe buys, America buys. So you don't like it, don't buy it.
Behind Navarro's meltdown is a deeper worry. India isn't relenting, and someone will have to take responsibility for this misstep by the Trump administration. The high-handedness of the Trump administration, which came down like a hammer, has been met with unanticipated pushback. And not just that, India is focusing on enhancing a reset with China, reaffirming ties with Russia, boosting strategic and defense ties with France, and keeping a close connection with the Quad partners Japan and Australia. In fact, Japan's trade officials just cancelled a US visit because the trade deal is falling apart already. In fact, Japan has welcomed PM Modi this week. Moreover, Australia is openly opposing tariffs on India and itself, indicating just how isolated Trump has gotten. With India, Trump's leverage has maxed out. He has played the Pakistan card, the Russia card, and the 50% tariff card. Moreover, his advisors have used dismissive, insulting language towards India, and he himself has called India a dead economy. This has brought a perfectly healthy relationship to the brink, and now he faces questions and his advisors are hard-pressed to deliver. This is where things get juicy. A German newspaper reports that Prime Minister Modi has not been taking calls from Trump. Trump made 4 calls, but Modi did not come to the phone. It suggests that this may have to do with Trump's style of deal-making. It says that Modi is avoiding Trump's media stunts, citing the Vietnam incident wherein Trump announced a deal without an actual agreement with Vietnam. This left Vietnam in quite a spot. The paper also says that the US president has defeated all his opponents in the tariff dispute, not India. The claim now is unconfirmed, but crucially, it has not been denied that the Prime Minister has not been taking the President's calls. If this report is true, PM Modi is being cautious. He doesn't intend for India to become the next stage prop for Trump. At the core of any deal are firm red lines. India will protect its farmers, dairy workers, and fishermen. India will also not surrender Kashmir to American mediation. And India will not abandon Russian oil just to satisfy Washington's posturing. Until there are indications from the US that it is ready to respect India's red lines and sovereign choices, there is little that can come out of a Modi-Trump call, which instead of helping may turn into a trap. With the India-Pakistan ceasefire, India has first-hand experience with Trump's habit of making one-sided announcements that can raise hell for the other country. So India has decided to stare down these tactics. Incentivizing Trump's tariff threats with capitulation has only brought more tariff threats. It's a recurring nightmare for nations. Moreover, India has been burned before. We cut Iranian oil to zero in 2018 under US sanctions. That was when China swooped in as Tehran's biggest buyer and also emerged as one of its most important strategic friends. Meanwhile, India backed off from Venezuelan crude as well. Each time, we played cautious and someone else filled the void. Trump assumed the same formula would work again, bully India off Russian oil. But not this time. India has seen the pattern. Capitulation only invites more bullying. The only answer is to hold firm. The 50% tariffs have not broken India. They have solidified its resolve. Far from being cornered, Modi has used the tariff fight to sharpen India's larger message. Just a day before tariffs kicked in, from Ahmedabad, formally launching Maruti Suzuki's electric vehicle plant, Modi reminded the world that made in India electric vehicles are headed for 100 countries. The symbolism was deliberate. India as a global manufacturing leader, not just a captive market. It was also an inflection point in narrative building. India-Japan cooperation had revolutionized the auto sector decades ago, and now they're leveling up. Meanwhile, India is pushing semiconductor manufacturing with 6 plants in the works. It is securing critical minerals for auto manufacturing and pushing mission manufacturing into futuristic industries. At the very moment that America tries to weaken India's industrial footing, Prime Minister Modi has reframed it as an opportunity to double down on self-reliance. And New Delhi isn't just talking, It has cut the goods and services tax to boost the economy. It has boosted the textile sector by removing an 11% duty on cotton imports, and it has launched an outreach program in 40 key markets from Europe to ASEAN to expand textile exports. Those markets import $590 billion worth of textiles annually. India's share right now is only 5 to 6%. So diversification is both strategy and signal. If America won't buy, others will. Trump wants nations to dance to his tunes with the magic wand of tariffs. But that wand has failed in India, which is holding on to its sovereignty. And New Delhi's message is sharp. India won't take cues on where to buy oil from or any other sovereign decisions. And Trump is learning that the hard way.